On today's Mega News, move over classic, your game came out 5 years ago. X, you're extremely out of luck my friend, your mobile game is dead. Zero and ZX, your collection didn't even sell that much, at least comparatively. And Legends, okay, technically your chance hasn't come yet. But get out of here anyways because the Battle Network sweep is here. And we're going to talk about all that right here on today's episode. Let's go! Welcome to your Mega News for May 3rd, 2023. Coming to you from the Shadowbox ZX YouTube channel and the MMNetwork.com. Well, it's the first episode for May, and it's also been a hot minute since Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection has dropped. Almost 3 weeks since the launch, to be precise. So today, we're going to play some catch up with all the news surrounding the collection's release, sales data, and I'm going to give you some of my own early impressions for online player versus player battles, and some more interesting facts I want to mention. But before the Battle Network sweep truly begins, first I need to address our favorite mobile game, Rockman X Dive. You were already caught in the intro that I said it was dead, and that's because it is. If I was to do a whole Dive news segment right now, all I can really say is, hey, you got an S rank 0 for free. And there was this banner that had the X units and the 0 units and their own separate banners that you could pull. But that's it, man. No new characters, no new stages, nothing really that exciting in terms of content at all. They've recently switched over to doing 2-week-long events reruns instead of just the 1 week. So I've been saying this for months now, but the writing really is on the wall. The end of service is near. So it's very unlikely that we're going to be covering Dive on this channel ever again, aside from maybe like a story compilation, and maybe one last goodbye when the end of service is announced. But it's definitely coming at this point. So for now, it's goodbye to Rockman X Dive. You had a lot of potential, especially when it comes to the crossovers, but unfortunately you didn't capitalize on that potential as much as we would have liked to see. You had some cool characters, but also a lot of fan service. And there's definitely a lot more X-Series characters even that we would have liked to see still, like Spider and so on, but they may never come to pass now. And that is unfortunate. That Dive Armor spam that we had at the end there is basically it. Dive wasn't the greatest game in the world, after all it's a mobile game, a gacha game at that. But we did have our share of fun with it here and there. It had a lot of flaws and bugs too. But it did at least keep us busy during the quiet months in terms of Mega Man news. Gave us something to talk about every week. So you can't fault it for that. And ideally, with the death of Dive, maybe that signals the coming of a new game finally. Not necessarily an X game, but something. But that remains to be seen. For now though, again, goodbye Dive. You at least had a longer run than Rockman Crossover did. Alright, now let's log out of the deep log and jack in to the Battle Network Legacy Collection. And oh boy, the sweep is happening. It's real, my friends. Because it only took 2 weeks, count them, 2 frickin' weeks for Battle Network Legacy Collection to hit 1 million units sold worldwide between both Volume 1 and Volume 2 combined. Holy alpha, dude. Let me just put things into perspective here so you understand how mind-blowing this achievement is. Mega Man Legacy Collection, that's the first classic Legacy Collection, the only Legacy Collection besides BN to reach 1 million units sold and get on the Platinum list. That took them 3 years to do it. Yeah, 3 years for the first Legacy Collection to hit 1 million. What about Mega Man 11, the current king of the Mega Man games in terms of sales, even dethroned Mega Man 2, which was the previous best? That took 1 year, 1 whole year for Mega Man 11 to get 1 million. Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection, 10 days. Yeah, just 10 days. It's already at 1 million. So we've only just started, and Battle Network Legacy Collection is already on pace to become the best-selling Mega Man game of all time. And we just got done celebrating Mega Man 11 becoming the best-selling game of all time. In fact, this collection is selling so well that it just plain sold out completely in Japan. Heck, it even sold out at GameStop and on Amazon and places over here as well. And it sold out so quickly that Capcom had to come out and say, hey, don't worry, a restock is coming, guys. That's insane, dude. You don't really see that at all with Mega Man games. It's definitely surreal to see the official Mega Man Twitter just come out and say, hey, we got 1 million already. I'm used to seeing this type of announcement with other games, like let me bring up another recent Capcom game, Resident Evil 4 Remake. 3 million units sold in the first 2 days. That was an announcement they made. I'm used to seeing that all the time because, you know, Resident Evil is way bigger than Mega Man will ever be. But to see 1 million after 2 weeks for a Mega Man game? No, you never see that, dude. Never. Not in this franchise. Bound Network Legacy Collection? Currently the fastest selling Mega Man game of all time. And it's not even like Classic or X. No, it's not even a 2D platformer. It's an RPG series. What? That just goes to show like how big Bound Network was back in its golden days in the 2000s. As they say, there's a Mega Man for everyone. And for a lot of us growing up in the 2000s, watching the anime, getting the toys, it was Battle Network. Not to mention, this has probably been the most highly requested Legacy Collection ever. Even before the announcement, there's been people clamoring for it for years. Pretty much ever since the 20th anniversary came around. Speaking of, around the launch of the Legacy Collection, the game was featured on the front cover of Famitsu. That's right, the front cover. You don't see that very often, if at all. And inside, we even got an interview with Mr. Famous himself, Masakazu Iguchi, where we got some confirmation on a few things, such as the fact that they began development on the collection about 2 years ago, which of course coincided with the 20th anniversary. However, the anniversary wasn't the driving force behind them developing the collection. Actually, it was because so many people were asking for it. And even people within Capcom themselves were asking for it. So, yeah, let's do it. And boy, if these sales numbers right now, it sure worked out for them. If you want to read the full interview, it is actually on Rockman Corner. I'll put a link to that in the description below. But for now, I will share one last question from the interview that I know a lot of us will be very interested to hear. Famitsu asked Iguchi, how do you plan to develop the Rockman series in the future? He says, personally, I would like to take on various challenges. I can't talk about it right now. I would be very grateful if you could play the Advanced Collection and give us your feedback. And usually that's speak for, play the game please, and maybe something will actually happen. So Iguchi seems ready to make something new, whatever it may be. He's asking everyone to play the collection, and it seems that everyone is playing the collection. 1 million units sold already. Capcom's been going balls to the wall with the marketing, like the Mega Man NT Warrior Marathon that they've run 2 times now. Yeah, they had a rerun. And they've even been sponsoring big streamers, like humongous streamers, millions of viewers, to actually play Battle Network on their streams. And that is a lot of exposure for the series right there. The hype for this series is reaching a high point once again. It's beginning to remind me of the mid-2000s when Bound Network 4 was the newest game and they had commercials and the anime going all the time. And you know, that resulted in Bound Network 4 becoming the best-selling Bound Network game of all time back then. It even got on the Platinum list, the only Bound Network game to do so. And I guess with the Legacy Collection also potentially getting on the Platinum list, that means Being 4 is the best-selling game once again. 2 for 2, baby. Let's go! Jokes aside though, what could all this success mean for the Mega Man franchise as a whole going forward? Well, as a reminder, the last time a Legacy Collection got on the Platinum list, that being Classic Collection 1, the sales of that particular collection was actually the entire reason that Mega Man 11 got greenlighted for production, as admitted by Capcom staff themselves back in an interview. And right now, we're experiencing the second time a Legacy Collection has sold this well. Yeah, technically the X Legacy Collection combined did 1 million as well, but Capcom counted those as 2 separate games, so they did not end up on the Platinum list at the end of the day, which is a bit unfortunate. I guess the big question is Capcom going to combine the volumes into one big sales number like they seem to be doing over on their announcements with the 1 million? Or are the volumes going to be counted as separate games? like they did the X Legacy Collection. I guess we'll have to wait and see to say for sure on that. But if they're already celebrating in such a big fashion about the 1 million units sold, that tells me that at least they are extremely happy with the progress so far. After all, doing these numbers in only 2 weeks is actually mind-blowing for a Mega Man game once again. So it's looking very possible, very likely at this moment in time, that the higher-ups at Capcom may take a look at this and say, alright, you can go make another game in this series. Notice I said in this series, meaning we could be looking at a new Battle Network 7, even though Battle Network 6 already ended the series with its own epilogue and everything. And it would be a bit disrespectful in a way to kind of squander that ending. But then again, Battle Network 7 doesn't necessarily have to be about Lan and Mega Man again. It could take place in the future with Patch and Mega Man Jr. Heck, we recently saw another interpretation of Patch, Lan's son, in the We Are Always Connected manga that's on the Legacy Collection website. So they could definitely make a Battle Network game that's set further into the future, maybe making it a bridge between Battle Network and Star Force. I don't think they take this and go straight for Star Force 4, because it would make more sense to just release a Star Force collection first, see how that does, and then make Star Force 4. And hey, that's another thing. I think with the success of this collection, it's looking more likely that a Star Force Legacy collection may actually happen in the near future, so that we can get our chance to eventually see Star Force 4. All I can really say, folks, is vote with your wallets and see what happens. And so far, it seems the general gaming community has voted with their wallets to potentially see something new in the Battle Network series. Personally, I hope it is that game set further in the future with Patch and Mega Man Jr., because I do agree that Lan and Mega Man's story is done as of BN6. Unless they go back and make remakes of Phantom Network and Legend Network, that would be neat to see, but I'm not going to hold my breath or anything. All that can be said is the people have definitely voted with their wallets at this point, so I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens now in the next few years. Of course, as we know, games take forever to develop these days, so if they were to start a new game right now, we're not going to see it for a few years, but hey, we'll get there eventually. In the meantime, we do have this Legacy Collection here to enjoy in the present. And hey, even the soundtrack. That's right, the digital OST for the Legacy Collection is out now on Steam to purchase. And if you want to get it physically, you can import it from Japan as well. And of course, the digital OST has all the different remixes that was missing in the music player in the collection itself, unfortunately. Including all of those title theme remixes, a few of which we heard in all the trailers that have come out prior to release. On the whole, I listened to the whole album and I like it a lot. My favorite tracks are those title theme remixes and also the Net Battle remix. But on the whole, there's a lot of different genres on display and I think there's something there for everybody. Definitely worth a download for sure. Meanwhile, it is now official that every single Japanese episode of the Rock Band EXE anime is up on the Capcom of Japan YouTube channel. That includes Rock Band EXE Beast and Beast Plus. And don't forget they recently uploaded an HD remaster of the Rock Band EXE movie as well. So now you can watch the entire series right on YouTube, at least until the end of May. None of these episodes have subtitles or anything, so you're out of luck if you're not familiar with the language, but we can at least watch from afar and enjoy the visuals. Don't forget the Mega Man Into Warrior episodes, the English dub, is on Capcom of USA's YouTube channel to enjoy. Although, unfortunately, like we covered before, they seem to have lost the original master for the first episode of Access, so that's in Japanese subs. Now that we got some of the news out of the way, I want to talk a bit more in depth about the Legacy Collection itself. We're going to begin with my online player versus player impressions. How does the online feel to play? Well, in my experience, it has been highly dependent on one, your connection with the other player, because it definitely feels like it's peer-to-peer as opposed to going off a server, and it's definitely not rollback. There's no way. So it's pretty much as we feared. You either gotta have a godlike internet connection or you're not gonna have a good time. At least on the Steam version. Because yes, on the Steam PC port, I've had really laggy games, lots of input lag going on, and my best matches happened when both me and my opponent were using a very good internet connection so that we could actually play the game properly. But on the flip side, when I started trying PvP on the Nintendo Switch, my experience was completely different on there, where they appear to be using the Nintendo servers, I think, because if it's just peer-to-peer, I didn't feel it. Because every match I played, even with randoms, every match I played on the Switch has been practically flawless. Like sure, you might feel a little teensy bit of lag there sometimes, but either I've gotten lucky or all my matches have been actually pretty good. I didn't feel very much lag at all. Definitely very playable. Oh, and I should mention that I have been using a wired Ethernet connection for both versions, so really my connection shouldn't be that different between the two. And as of yet, I have not tried the PlayStation version, so I can't speak for that one. But yeah, I was surprised how much of a better experience I've been having on the Switch compared to the Steam version. Of course, this is still early days for me because I'm still playing through all the games in the Switch version. I got a long ways to go, so that's why this isn't a full review of the online PvP, but I at least wanted to let you guys know my personal experience so far. And once I've actually played through all the games and see if things changed or not, then I'll come out with a PvP review. If nothing else, it has been a real treat to actually net battle people again. Yeah, the meta is still really bad, especially in BN1, which I've tried a lot of. But some of those early days net battling with people like Neo and Megaquint, when we don't have the best chips in our folders, and we're just making do with what we got as we play through the games, those net battles have legitimately been a lot of fun. Which makes me once again sad that there's no random battle mode for BN6 in this collection, because I find that it's the most fun when you're net battling with some random junk rather than the most powerful meta competitive folders out there. But that's just my opinion, and I do agree that Capcom should have tried harder to balance these games when it comes to the chip selection and everything. There is actually one other issue with Battle Network Legacy Collections Online right now, however, and that's because, where'd everybody go? I think it's actually because a lot of people are just playing through the games in chronological order right now and are not going to even bother with PvP until later, if they ever do. And of course, there's the whole issue with there being 6 whole games to delve into, and of course, BN6 of all games are going to be more popular than the others. There's also the fact that the fan base is split up between 3 versions, Steam, Switch, and PlayStation, so that makes it even more difficult to find people. But the matchmaking right now is pretty dead, and unless things change later on, maybe in a few months, those Omega rank climbs are going to get pretty dicey, because where are we going to find people to play with? Heck, I'm pretty sure most of my net battles and trades I've had so far are just from my own viewers hopping on when I'm streaming, so I can't even imagine what the experience is like for other people. But yeah, hopefully the player numbers will increase a bit once everyone has actually completed their copies of the games. After all, they are 10 plus hour RPGs, so I definitely understand why it's taken so long. Now, another big point of contention that we've had ever since the collection was announced is that, is it a source port or emulation? The modding community swears that it's impossible for it to be a source port, at least when it was announced. But then Iguchi came out and said, actually, according to my calculations, it's a source port. And that just blew our minds, like, what? Are you serious? So what's the verdict? Is it a source port or emulation? Well, all of us had a jump scare for a moment when we actually did some digging into the Steam files and found that there was just straight up ROMs in there, like the Japanese ROM and the English ROMs. So is that it? Is it just emulation? They've been lying to us? Well, no, that's not the complete story. Because on further observation, it turns out that we're looking at a bit of a hybrid situation here. Where yes, they're definitely utilizing those ROMs, but what they're doing is stripping the data out of those ROMs and kind of transplanting them back into what you see in the Legacy Collection. And that is why in the Legacy Collection, the English script is 100% the same as what you've seen on the Game Boy Advance versions, and that's because they are just straight up reusing the script from those English ROMs. But content wise, they seem to be using the Japanese ROMs as a base. So there you go, it seems to be a source port after all, just using ROMs as a base, which is actually kind of smart, because doing a true source port would have taken way more time, and probably not worth it to be honest. However, the fact that they're using the Japanese ROM as a base and then taking the English script, that has caused some issues. The biggest flaw comes in the virus battle request in BN6, where in the English version you get Super Vulcan from beating the final battle of the virus battler, but in the Japanese version you're actually supposed to get Django 3, and you do need that chip to complete your Mega Library. And you do in fact need to complete your Mega Chip Library to get to Graveyard Area 2. So, if you are playing on the English language in the Legacy Collection, because the item data is actually tied to the script itself, you're going to end up with Super Vulcan 1 in your copy. And that's not good because again, we need that Django 3 to complete our Mega Chip Library. And currently, the only fix for this is to straight up switch your language to the Japanese version, play the virus battler again, and then you can get Django 3 as you should. In fact, you can actually mess with this a bit to get different version exclusive rewards. Like, you can get 2 copies of Winrack Star if you switch between the English and Japanese languages on the fly as you do the virus battle request. And Winrack Star is in fact a competitive chip, so yeah, you definitely want those. It just sucks that for people not in the know, they're going to end up with that Super Vulcan, and they're basically going to get soft locked in the progression of the post game if they do attempt it. So now, you're going to have to trade with a friend or compare libraries to get Django 3, or get lucky in a chip trader or something. Hopefully Capcom does come back around and releases a fix for this situation, because it is a pretty big oversight, and it's a shame that they left this soft lock in. But as of right now, there are no announcements on this front. So again, you're just going to have to fix it yourself by playing in the Japanese language as you do that final virus battler, because you definitely don't want Super Vulcan. But why, you ask? Super Vulcan is an amazing chip. That's true, but you can only run 1 copy of Super Vulcan in your folder, and guess what? You can actually get 2 copies of Super Vulcan very easily in the Japanese version in the Legacy Collection. You can get your first copy of Super Vulcan right when you start a new game by using the item cards in the patch cards section. And then your second copy comes in the Underground 2, which is the original location in the Japanese version. The only reason why it ended up in the virus battle in the English version is because of the cut content, making them switch around the chip locations. And once again, since you can only run 1 copy of Super Vulcan per folder, those 2 copies are all that you will ever need. So do yourself a favor and just go ahead and play in Japanese to get that Django 3. And now we're going to end off with some cool modding news for the collection. So of course, from day 0, the modding community has been very busy on finding out what exactly is possible in terms of mods for this collection. And here are the results basically. So right away, there was an update for Tango, which is the fan-made rollback program for online PvP, which added support for the Legacy Collection. And since the Legacy Collection has ROMs in there, basically the Tango program is going to use those ROMs for actually playing online on their own server. So now you have the option to support the official release and play with rollback. Of course, you can only play with other players using Tango by doing this, but it does make for a very solid online experience. And next comes the more Legacy Collection specific mods, such as the most highly requested one ever since the collection was announced, the Pixel Font mod from Prof 9. Are you one of those people that absolutely cannot stand the new font? Well, the Pixel Font mod takes it and reverts it back to the original Game Boy Advance font essentially. It took some doing to get to that point, but Prof 9 was able to reverse engineer the script engine, and here are the results. And it looks quite nice, especially if you want to take things back to the GBA era. Meanwhile, Gregamaster has released the best BN6 mod for the Legacy Collection. Of course, I'm talking about the dab patch. That's right, it's time to dab on all those fools. Maybe not online, I'm not sure how that would go over, but you can at least dab on everybody in single player once again. It's good to have this patch back. And to cap off our modding news, both Mega Rock EXE and Grega Master were able to find out that both battle modding and sprite modding respectively are still possible in Legacy Collection. So really, the floodgates are open now. If some madmen wanted to do it, they could recreate the Shadowrock patch in Bound 6 on the Legacy Collection if they really wanted to. I'm not gonna do it, so you know what? If someone wants to do it, you have my permission. I don't care at this point. As far as I'm concerned, I'm retired from modding. But I'm always happy to see new ones cropping up, and they're a lot of fun. And really, the Pixel Font mod and the Dab patch being ported back to the Legacy Collection is only the beginning of the possibilities that is possible of modding in this collection. And I'm excited to see what else the community comes up with in the coming months, especially when the Denuvo DRM gets removed eventually. Oh yeah, it's over at that point. Mods are here to stay. In the meantime, that's it for today's mega news. I'm super stoked to see that the Bound Legacy Collection is doing so well, both sales wise, and I'm just happy to see everyone else enjoying it as well, whether you're just playing through the games for the first time, re-experiencing it, or at least trying to enjoy some PvP and trades. Overall, it's just cool to see the community foster around the collection once again. And speaking of, we do have our own Shadowbox CX Discord server for anyone interested. We have an entire section in there centered around the Legacy Collection itself, whether you want to discuss single player, PvP, or just do some net battles and trades with fellow members. The Discord link will always be in the description below on every one of these videos. So join in! Trading on Discord is definitely going to be a lot easier than trying to do it on Twitter or Facebook. God forbid the YouTube comments. And yep, for all things Mega Man, stay tuned to Shadowrock CX and be sure to check out the mmnetwork.com as well for all sorts of articles and videos like this one. I wish you guys the best of luck in your net battles and trades, and we'll see what the future has in store for us Mega Man fans in the coming years. Until then, rock on and have yourselves a great time zone.